Right. A day must surely come when elected officials must ask the people who voted for them before defecting to other political parties. This is the statement by Justice Taiwo of the Federal High Court, Abuja, while delivering a judgment on defecting of some members of the Cross River State House of Assembly. In the judgment, the court sacked the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Ethan Williams, and 17 other members, as well as 2 members of the House of Representatives from the states, Michael Etaba and Ligobagbo, over their defection from the People's Democratic Party, that's the PDP, to the All Progressive Congress, APC. Let's share the court story with you.
It is barely 2 weeks after the Federal High Court nullified the candidacy of Governor and Deputy Governor of Ebonyi State over their defection to the APC. Now the Federal High Court Abuja, presided by Justice Taiwo, has again nullified the candidacy of 20 lawmakers for defecting from the party through which they were duly elected. The People's Democratic Party had instituted a suit against the lawmakers over their defection to the All Progressives Congress. In the judgment, the court held that the lawmakers, since they have abandoned the People's Democratic Party, which sponsored them to power, they should vacate their seats. The court also noted that the actions of the lawmaker in challenging the competency of the suit is feeble and constitutes an attempt to pull the wool over the eyes of the court.
This is another major decision upholding our constitutional provisions. The time for, resorting to the rule of law should now actually be welcomed.
Senior advocate of Nigeria, Michael Zekomen, says his client will appeal the judgment promptly.
Under Section 25A of the Court of Appeal Act, to appeal to the Court of Appeal, 90 days. And this being a final judgment under Section 150 and Section 151 of the Constitution, we don't need the leave of the court to appeal. It's an appeal as of right.
Parties that have lost their mandate over the defection of their members who were duly elected by them to political positions will see this judgment as a pathway to seek redress in court. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
Wow. Before the 2019 election, we had a situation whereby we were counting the number of lawmakers in the National Assembly, this for APC, this for the People's Democratic Party, because it was like a daily affair, seeing lawmakers crisscrossing. Now, because of that section of our Constitution that says that, yes, if there is division or there's crisis in the party at the national level, that the lawmaker, they can switch, and if they are able to justify it. Now, we now find a situation whereby governors that were duly elected under a certain political party 2-3 years down the line, 1 year down the line, when they have problem there, they will go to another party. Now, this is like, a landmark judgment, sacking all the members of the State House of Assembly, now sacking the House of Representatives, and the governor is going to get his own day in court. Jide?
Well, the lawmakers who sheepishly follow governors who are defecting to a party, they've got to realize that the law does not permit them to defect unless there is a serious crisis within their party. Crisis not even at the their micro level, but at the national level, capable of dividing the party into
like what we had in PDP pre-2019.
Yes. So it's not, you can't sit in your state, there's no crisis, a governor just feels that, well, because he has immunity, he can go to another party, and you that you don't have immunity, you that the Constitution clearly says that as lawmakers you cannot move unless there's you then decide to move. Now we are seeing this in across the country. Even the speaker of the former speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly, he defected. His own seat too has been declared vacant. we've got to put an end to the yearly ritual of our politicians defecting, glory seekers defecting to another party where they think they will have access to more money. There was a particular politician that defected in Adamawa State. Immediately, the new government came, he defected. Now that government, that party that he defected to only spent 4 years, the old party is back in power. I wonder whether it will still go back to...
It's something that happens...
whether it will still go back to his original vomit. These lawmakers in Cross River, they went with the governor. They wanted to show loyalty. But look at what has happened now. Now, it is not everybody in the Cross River House that has joined the race. The reason the police went to the house today was to forestall attempts by the PDP members left in the house to sit, because those ones would have loved to sit and then appoint their own speaker. So they had to go there to stop them while these ones are processing their stay of execution or whatever. But we've seen lawmakers sacked, even if they go to Supreme Court, as long as they don't have concrete evidence of division within their party. What happened to Ehinlanwo in Ondo State is what will happen to them. And you will be told to repay the salaries that you had earned.
It's still journalists hang out, Dotun. And when you want to look at this crisis, you will discover that, look, like the People's Democratic Party, they're poised to go to courts. They're saying that all those governors they've lost and the people that they've defected from PDP to APC, with this is like a ginger that, look, this impunity must stop.
Well, it's been argued that this is a landmark judgment. And we are likely to have more of it, because the Supreme Court has said it, and very clearly too. You can't take one party's votes to another. But the major argument that has occurred with the governors has just been the issue of immunity. And the last time I was here, you know, I said it, that every case demands fresh argument. You can't go with the same argument and think because it's worked in one case, it's going to work in this one. And what we've also always seen in this country is this. Every politician wants to be on the side of the government at the center. So once a government, even at the state level too, once a government comes in, everybody moves in that direction, whether it is justifiable or not. The case BKO mentioned that occurred today in Plateau State, for instance. What was the basis for removing the man? It wasn't a court pronouncement. The chairman of the All Progressive Congress wrote the speaker and said, this man moved from APC to PDP. Invoke your power and remove him. It wasn't a court judgment. And they removed the man today. Yet, the same APC is fighting that the lawmakers in Cross River and the governors in Cross River and Ebonyi should not be removed after moving, switching parties. And then you begin to ask yourself, what's the basis for some of these arguments? Because what the chairman of the APC in Plateau State, Rufus Bature, wrote to the speaker, Yakubu Sanda, was, see, this man that is called Abok Ayuba has defected. And he said the party which sponsored his election, which is to request that as the speaker of the Plateau State House Assembly, you should invoke the power conferred on you by section 109 subsection 2. Invoke the power to accordingly declare vacant the seat of Ayuba, since the constitutional conditions that warrant his defection do not exist. He was the one who determined it and pronounced it, and the speaker, in a matter of minutes, acted on it.
They can test it in court.
Yes, it can be contested. But what I'm saying is
I doubt if they have the power to
as ruled
declare.
In one instance that you don't have a right. But it is the speaker in this instance who is ruling, the same party. So it's all of these things are self-serving. We are not playing politics according to the rules. We want to play it according to how we feel
what suits us.
per time. What suits us. And that shouldn't be. The rule of law is
Let me take you back critical. To 2007, 2007, before the General Obasanjo handed over, the President Obasanjo handed over. You know, as at that time, he declared the seats of his vice president vacant because that one moved to the Action Congress of Nigeria, and he felt that since we were both elected by the People's Democratic Party, that you can't just move to another party. He declared his seat vacant, and it was a subject of litigation that time.
And the Supreme Court was right that, look, you can't sack your deputy. You have no power to sack your deputy. He had been having issues with him, you know, the whole of that second term. They've been fighting. And he made moves, all kinds of moves to humiliate Atiku, set up panels. He was, at the end of the day, he was not indicted. So, seeing that Atiku was going to leave his party, you know, he sacked many of Atiku's staff. He came up with the idea of there is only one presidency. You know, so but
the likes of late
Atiku kept defeating him in court. Atiku kept defeating him in court. It was at the last minute that Atiku's name was put on the ballot.
I remember.
You know, so the court pronouncement was that you have a joint ticket. It's like a marriage. Both of you as Siamese twins. You cannot singularly operate your presidency. When they gave you that mandate, it was for the two of you.
Joint tickets.
So on that basis, his effort to, if he has succeeded, he will have removed Atiku and
oh yes, he wanted to do that.
Appointed a deputy for himself. You know, he was planning. I don't know if it was verified, but he was planning to put someone as and he was told that no, it's a joint ticket. It does not belong to you alone. You know, so there have been lessons that the Supreme Court and other courts of record have been teaching us, and the Supreme Court is a court of policy, which means that it can make pronouncements that become law.
Yes.
You know, it's not every law in our country that is codified in the Constitution, being the ground norm. The Supreme Court makes law. By its pronouncement is law.
It becomes
law.
So
in this case, if the Supreme Court wants to put an end to the nonsense that we see every election year, whereby people move and all that, these governors can be made scapegoats. And after that, the ugly attitude of defecting will now come to an end. The framers of our Constitution targeted lawmakers because of what happened during the First Republic. The cross-carpeting the floor of the parliament at that time was what led to the riots in the Southwest. So they wanted to put an end to such a thing. That was why they targeted the lawmakers. But as we can see, the executive too, they defect anyhow. You know, so something at the end of the day, something must give. Because me, I've not seen anywhere with where defection is so rampant as we see in our country.
All right.